got to take two things into account. Number one is, what is the easier road? That is definitely the Eastern Conference. But number two is, where am I going to play? I can't imagine it would be anywhere but L.A., Golden State, or Cleveland. And Cleveland's a really good ball club. There's a lot of young talent there. I think that might be the better option. When I think about Golden State, I think it would be great fodder. It would be great to watch. But then again, I'm thinking through this in my head. LeBron is still playing at a really high level. Steph is still playing at a really high level. Klay is not. Draymond is not. So are we getting caught up? Let's say potentially he goes to Golden State. Are we just caught up in the idea that you have all of these superstars playing together, but ultimately they're not at their peaks?
Well, we've seen this in the NBA all the time. You can throw a bunch of superstars on a team, but it doesn't mean you're going to win a title. Like, look at every team Kevin Durant's been on, with the exception of that Golden State team. It feels like that's not the formula for winning basketball. It can get you a lot of places, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win a ring. But the crazy part is the high level that LeBron James is still playing at. So I think there are teams that should be bidding for his services. Do you think that he would only go to a big market team? Because obviously Cleveland is the one that obviously has the sentimental value. But I was thinking about this, and this is in fantasy land. This has nothing to do with cap space and how the actual, steps could be carried out. Do you think he'd ever go to New York?
Maybe.
They're a good team.
They are. That's an interesting question. It doesn't seem like the right fit to me. But I guess I can see it. Why wouldn't he? You're right. They're a good team. I mean, Knicks fans would lose their minds for a year or two. Yeah, I think it's a possibility. And this has happened before. We always forget about players at the ends of their careers, and a lot of guys have ring chased before. Charles Barkley did it with the Rockets. Remember when he joined Hakeem and Scottie Pippen in the late 90s? They lost to the Jazz in the playoffs in 97, 98. Chris Webber went to the Pistons. I'd forgotten all about that. They lost to the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals in 2007. Karl Malone with the Lakers in 2004. They lost to the Pistons in the NBA Finals. Danny DeVito went to the Sixers. Remember that?
Danny DeVito.
Laurie Strunk.
He was the basketball.
Oh, he was the basketball. They were just bouncing around DeVito. He was happy to be there. Rolling him up. The old roly-poly. So it's not as uncommon as you might think. Guys at the end of their careers will say, okay, where can I go and just maybe luck into a ring? But I don't know. Maybe New York is an option. I feel like he stays out west, though. That's my feeling. And I really think he wants to play with Bronny. And let's be honest here. LeBron James Jr., Bronny is not an NBA player. He will be an NBA player only because a team takes a flyer on him in the second round or signs him even if he doesn't get drafted, and they bring in LeBron, and they get a couple years together, and it's a total marketing ploy. But Bronny is not getting drafted based on his talents.
Well, here's the other thing. Didn't Bronny say he's transferring from USC, or was that just a rumor? Because I'm always wondering that I'm sure that LeBron wants him to play with him, but what about Bronny? Do you think Bronny wants to play with his dad? Like, do you ever think in the back of his mind, he's like, God, like, can I just go somewhere else? Like, Dad, just let me spread my wings. Let me go to Orlando by myself.
But when I was a kid growing up in Texas, we actually had, amazingly, a couple of huge lakes near where I lived, and we had a boat. And so we were on the lake a lot. And my best friend David, who lived a few houses down from me, his parents had a boat. So in junior high and high school, I spent a ton of time at the lake water skiing or waterboarding or, kneeboarding.
Waterboarding?
Or torturing people. If I wasn't water skiing, I was taking people out to the lake that I didn't like, and I was waterboarding them. Kneeboarding. Sorry. Jeez. You're waterboarding all the time now? So, yeah, I was always on the water all the time, and I would actually get some sun, and I loved it. But I think now, like, I love the summer if I'm near the water. I think that's the real distinguishing factor for me. Being in the city, I'm not near the water a lot, so I'm like, ugh, I just burn. I'm hot. I'm sweaty. And then for years, when back in my TV days, I'm taking the metro out of a car, and I got to wear a suit to work every day. So when it's 90-something degrees in the District of Columbia, and I'm walking everywhere, and you just walk, and you got a full suit on, and I'm walking everywhere. I'm hot. Ugh, it's gross, and I burn anyway. But if you put me near the water, we're all right. I'll put some sunscreen on. I get a little shade here. I get out in the ocean or get out in the lake or whatever. Then I'm a totally different person because then I have ways to kind of keep cool. So I love the summer if I'm near some sort of water. If not, it's just kind of a grind for me. 3-1. Mercury may or may not be in retrograde. So what's going to happen here when you take all these factors into effect?
Yes. Us Pisces are known as great gamblers. Michael Jordan was only a couple days away from being a Pisces, but he's an Aquarius. So, what could have been if he was born a few days later. But back to this game, we've got the Knicks squaring off with the Sixers. I think it's good night, sweet prince, to Joel Embiid in this one. The Sixers need more than just Joel Embiid because we saw it last game. OG Anunoby absolutely shut down Joel Embiid in the fourth quarter with some help. They did do some double teams. Joel Embiid 0 of 5 from the field in the fourth quarter. And plus, it feels like he's running out of gas. We've talked about this. He is a very large individual, and he gets tired pretty easily. It's not his own fault. He's just a big guy. But when they take him out of the game, they don't have a prayer either. Who is it, Paul Reed, that's set to, take his place? And we saw it last game. The Knicks absolutely ran up the score on the Sixers when Joel Embiid was out of the game. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, keeping in Joel Embiid. So I think this is all Knicks. And plus, they've got a great home court advantage. It's been a while since the Knicks have been able to close out a series. This could be the elimination game. I think we see a great fan base present for this game tonight. I'm going to go with the Knicks. Laying the 3.5. I believe this line has moved to 4.5 for a reason. So let's go with the Knicks.
Completely agree. Joel Embiid is worn out. When he was inserted into Game 4 earlier than he needed to be in the second half because the Sixers were struggling without him, he just didn't have anything left in the tank. Didn't score in the fourth quarter. That Knicks crowd is going to be wild tonight at the Garden. I'm with you. Knicks -3.5, -4.5 is the call. Like it at either number.